What's going on, YouTube? Elsa STi here. Just gonna make my way back home from work. Got a long drive ahead of us, that's for sure. Downtown Denver today. What I wanted to talk about today is something that I get asked a few times here and there, and that is, does the STi make for a good road trip car? A lot of times people are concerned about taking a long road trip in the STi for a number of reasons. The exhaust can be really loud, especially if you've changed it. It rides a bit stiff, right? You know, it's supposed to be a production rally car. So people have some reservations on just how comfortable is it. Is my wife or girlfriend gonna not like it, if we take a 3, 4, 5, 6 hour road trip? I'm here to answer those questions. I've taken numerous road trips in my 16 STi. We live in Colorado here in Denver. I've driven, we take a lot of trips in the mountains to go hiking and do skiing and stuff like that. So you're talking 2, 3, 4 hours is kind of an average weekend, if you will, for us. And a lot of times we are in the STi. So not only that, we've also driven to Moab, Utah in this car. That's about a 6.5, 7 hour trip from where I'm at in Denver. All right, so let's put it bluntly, shall we? I think the Subaru STi is just a fine road trip car. I have no problems driving this car for any length of time. Now, I'm not saying I would enjoy really any car going cross country, but I think even then I'd be okay with the STi. This car keeps you on your toes. It really does. Like, it's fun to drive. It's an engaging driving session, right? Every time you're behind the wheel. Some cars you get into, it's just boring as hell. And you're like, God, I could fall asleep. I never feel that way with my STi. So it's fun, it's engaging. It keeps you interested even on the highway, especially when you're driving in a place like Colorado where we have plenty of twisty roads. I never feel bored with the STi, like ever. I mean, city driving, highway driving, pulling through a drive-through and, the high school kids being like, oh, snap, bro. STi, again, it's never a lack of attention and never a lack of enjoyment from being behind the wheel. Now, it is absolutely true, the car does ride stiff. It's not as bad as someone that's got it slammed out on coilovers, but even stock form, it's a little bumpy, it's a little bit stiff, but not anything worse than my last car, which was completely blown out of the suspension. It was horrible. I felt like actually coming to the STi was an upgrade and much more smooth compared to my last beater car, everyday daily driver I had. So, is it horrible? No. Is it a Cadillac? No. Now, this has happened a few times when I've had my wife in the car, and that has been instances where there's a kind of a bridge up and a gap in the road where it comes up a little bit, or maybe a big pothole. And I said, if you don't dodge that crap and you hit that head on, even on stock suspension, stock tires, stock wheels, you will get that huge jolt, and it sounds like, the engine just fell out of the front of the car, like, boom. To the point where when you're not expecting it, it can be a bit jarring. My wife jumps every time it happens when I forget to dodge something on the road. So yeah, that can be kind of a pain in the ass. That can be a little bit of a problem, but it's not a big deal. Again, if you do hit a pothole, in another car versus the STi, you're still gonna have that same effect. It's just a lot more probably pronounced given just how rigid and stiff the frame, the body, the suspension, everything is in this car. So let's talk a little bit about gas mileage. Gas mileage has always been kind of the bane of the STi since it still continues to use the same old EJ motor. I will tell you that here in Colorado, I can actually get some pretty decent MPGs because I can coast down some hills and some mountains. But in general, my car, and I can just take a look and even see what I'm at right now, generally speaking, I'm only about 80 miles into my tank. I'm at about 22 overall average miles per gallon. But if I'm out driving on the highway on a road trip, I'll get about 23.5, maybe 24 miles of the gallon on the highway, which is pretty darn good. Now, granted, there is some coasting in there just given the terrain here in the state of Colorado. But again, 23, 24 on the highway, not great, but again, it could be a lot worse. What about what can you haul in this car, right? If you're taking a road trip, you got to have some space to haul some stuff around. And this car can absolutely haul some stuff. The rear seat does fold down to give you more ample space for stuff that maybe I said a little bit too long to fit in just the trunk space. So the rear seat comes down. The trunk space is actually quite large. I don't know what the cubic feet space is offhand, but the trunk space on the STi is actually pretty decent. You can fit a lot of pieces of luggage in there. Now we have two large oversized pieces of luggage, my wife and I. We can fit both of those in there, as well as a more standard carry-on size, like you take to an airport and take as a carry-on, and also like some extra spare bags and stuff on top. So you really can fit a decent amount of stuff in the trunk. What if you have a family, right? It's hauling just more than you, or just more than you and your girlfriend, or you and your wife. Its back seat was one of the greatest things they've done with the 2015 Plus, is the back seat actually has an ample amount of room. I'm 6'4", okay? When I sit in the back of this car, I don't feel that scrunched or that uncomfortable. And I cannot say that about a lot of cars that are even bigger than the STi. So for the rear passengers, the new STIs and WRXs for that matter, do provide a lot of ample space to be comfortable in the back. It's not a squish. Whew. All right, traffic brutal. I find the seats in the STi to be fairly comfortable, especially if you're going somewhere in the cold months. You got, of course, the seat heaters, if you have the upgrade for that, which I think is fantastic. Overall, especially being a bigger guy, 6'4", larger frame, I feel that, again, the side bolstering isn't quite what you probably want if you're going on a track day. You know, people swap those out and you do get the Recaros in there, something like that. But for the average person, average frame size on a long trip, I find the STi seats to be decently comfortable. And another spot to talk about, which I touched on in my last video, which was, check it out, I'll put it down here. I reviewed my Nameless Exhaust. Again, one of the most important things that I looked at when I was looking at exhaust was this idea of I didn't want anything that was going to drone like crazy. And my Nameless does not do that. Something that people with the SPT exhaust can't really say. Ooh, my favorite, an overpass. So the people that have the SPT from Subaru talk about kind of that highway drone, you know, 30, 3500, that can be just really annoying. My Nameless Exhaust is a muffler delete, but it does not have any drone whatsoever. So when I'm cruising at 70, 75 miles an hour, I do not get a headache. So let me know down in the comments, have you taken a road trip in your WRX or STi? Let me know your experiences down below. I don't think anyone's going to have that much of a difference of opinion than what I've given right here, I think. But let me know. Drop me a comment. Please, 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 if you have not yet, like this video. Helps me out a ton, gets more views in the video, and that's what I'm all about. So I want to spread the word. So again, please like, thumbs up the video. Much appreciated. So until I see you again next time, like, comment, subscribe. See you again next time.